Okay, I'm gonna try and show you how to play my song "Rubbing It In." It's gonna be one of the harder songs that I teach you, just because it's just not that simple. I'm gonna simplify it, but it's not like some of the other stuff we've been going over. But everybody has been asking me for this tutorial, so I'm gonna do my best. Okay, so the first thing I'm gonna teach you is like the verse, which sounds like. Well, I was sitting by myself as I usually do, playing my piano for an hour or two. This pretty little girl comes and sits next to me. She says, "Don't you feel lonely?" So that's the first verse, that whole part. And the key to this whole song are really the C and the E flat sort of moving up together. So I'm going to slow down and show you some more of those parts, but what I want you to see is that even though my left hand is playing this, is playing part of those two notes, it's still basically playing them as if they were together. They're just spread out. So I'm going to play it with just two fingers, but spread out. So instead of playing like this, I'm going to play it like this. So you can see that this sort of thing that's going on here, my pinky sort of stays in the same, it just keeps on playing that C, and the key is these sorts of two moves. So the very first thing that my left hand plays is a C, but other than that it's going to be playing the top part of those thirds, or maybe it's a minor third. So, for instance, to start off, play in your right hand a C, and then E flat, and in your left hand play a C. Well, I was sitting by when you say self, your left hand is going to go to A flat, and your right hand is going to go to an F. When you say usually, your left hand is going to play a G, and your right hand is going to play an E flat. Usually do. When you say do, you're just going to move this E flat down to a D. So together it's like this. I was sitting by myself as I usually do. Then the next part is just repeated, basically. Playing my piano for an hour or two. I usually play a G7. So if you want to change it up at the end of that little part, you can play a G7 or just a G chord. So that's G, B, D, and I like to throw in this F here. So all together, I was sitting by myself as I usually do, playing my piano for an hour or two. And then the next part is the same thing. This pretty little girl comes and sits next to me, except now, instead of just moving this down to the D, I'm also going to move this G down to an G flat. So, playing my piano for an hour or two, this pretty little girl comes and sits next to me, and she says, don't you feel lonely? So that "don't you feel lonely," I'm going to come back up the half steps. So I'm like this, and then I come down here, and then I reverse directions. Don't you feel lonely? And I sort of keep going up that scale. So the left hand goes from a G to an A flat, and the right hand goes to an F. And then this part's a little strange. Staying on that A flat. Basically can play an A flat in your left hand, a G flat, A flat, and C. Don't you feel lonely? So that's A flat to G7. I think that's probably an A flat minor. No, it's an A flat major to a G major 7. A flat, G7. So the whole verse together is like this. Well, I was sitting by myself as I usually do, playing my piano for an hour or two. This pretty little girl comes and sits next to me, and she says, don't you feel lonely? Then you repeat, oh, smiling at her bravery, I asked her name. With a twinkle in her eyes, she began to explain, it doesn't really matter, I hung my head in shame, 'cause everybody's wiser than me. Then the chorus is just C. Thank you very much, I said. E major, A minor for rubbing it in. F. Do you wanna see me from A minor or F? And if you're C, gonna play with me E. A minor suggests you begin, but don't try and bring me down. So this is actually an E flat diminished. So that's E flat, and then you go up 3 half steps, 1, 2, 3, to a G flat, and then you go up 3 half steps to an A, and then you go up 3 half steps to a C. So don't try and bring me down. Oh yeah, and so don't try and bring me down. The only thing you change is your left hand goes from that G flat to an F. Don't try and bring me down. Don't try and bring me down. Don't try and bring me down. Or whatever. Then you play a G7. So the chorus, I'm going kind of fast because I have a time limit here, but I'll see if I can recap the chorus quickly for you. C, E, A minor, F, C, E, A minor, F, C, E, A minor, F, E flat diminished. E flat diminished over an F, basically. E flat diminished. F, I guess that's actually an F7. E flat diminished. G7. And then it starts over. Let's see, how am I doing on time here? Okay, so very quickly, I only have 2 minutes. The bridge, or like the sort of like the solo, the bass hand. C, D, E flat, G, F, E flat, D, F, D, E flat, D, C, E flat, A flat, G, B. Or if you just want to watch. And you can do parallel minor thirds. And then it jumps up to an F here, still minor parallel thirds. This sort of chord is an A flat major, G major, C minor. And that sort of chord, that is a G, augmented G. Okay, so that's pretty much all I have for time. So a G, augmented G is like a G major, but you move this augmented fifth. You move this fifth note, or this D, up a half step. Kind of gives that suspension. So I know that's really brief and quick and thrown out there, but I have a time limit, and that's just the best I can do. I hope that can get you started. If you have more questions, send me a message, and I'll do my best to answer. All right, thank you. Have a good day.